Hello everyone and welcome back to Closets Gaming. Today we're going to take a look at The Signal from Toelva. This open world adventure first person shooter with a few RPG-like elements puts you into the shoes of an artificial intelligence capable of possessing robots and acting its will through them. You will explore the planet Toelva, trying to solve a mystery of its distant and haunted world, fighting many different robots. Interesting puzzles, all while trying to get better gear and securing control of this mysterious world. It is available on Steam for €19.99 or your regional equivalent. Let's begin this review with saying, as far as I've been able to find, this game has been made by only 2 developers. I did find mentions of artists helping with the animation and graphical design choices, but when it comes to the gameplay mechanics, these should be totally done by only 2 people. And surprisingly enough, most of the mechanics are really good. So, the main mechanics can be divided into 3 different categories: exploration, combat, and a few RPG-like elements. And we will start by talking about the exploration. And the first thing when talking about exploration itself is how big the world feels. And it does feel big. But, in my opinion, for one unfortunate reason. Because the game doesn't provide you with any sort of transportation vehicle, you have to run everywhere. While it doesn't take you a terribly long time to get to the place where you're trying to go to, the fact that the world is really lacking in terms of wildlife, whether animal or plant life, makes the trail feel so much longer because nothing is really happening between the spots you're trying to get to. The thing that sort of redeems this is the fact that, well, fast travel is an integral part of the game's mechanics. Every little subzone has at least one place to which you can fast travel, so if you suddenly want to do the objectives on the other side of the map, you can easily do that. But then, you will again have to run through this barren world before you get back into the action. But otherwise, the exploration was quite fun. You get 5 main types of locations to discover. The actual quest nodes, where you have to scan an item, and these unlock new kinds of equipment for you. Bunkers, where you can not only respawn, but also change your loadout, and you get an automatically full heal whenever you access the computer IDs. Spawn points, giving you the much needed points from which you can start exploring more of the planet without the need for long walks. Ambushes, which, if defeated, unlock a higher capacity of your out-of-combat self-heal, and places with a high amount of collectibles, which you need to gather, because those are used as the currency for the gear you unlock over the course of the game. Apart from these 5 main types of locations, I have also encountered a few mazes around the world. I have been able to finish only one of them, and to be honest, I haven't found anything of real significance in these, but they are still a fun, and also frustrating, part of the game's world. Okay, that's it about the exploration part of the game. Now on to the combat. Combat itself can feel a bit simple at times, to be completely honest, as most of your enemies are just dumb drones. But every now and then, you will get into a fight that takes place near one of the bases which your faction controls, and then your own drones will engage in the battle as well, and suddenly, the battle feels that much more epic. The second time when battles feel really epic is whenever huge defense sentries are dropped from orbit and you need to quickly reach cover before you get obliterated. But even those do quickly turn into monotone battles where you hide behind a rock, shoot out your magazine at the sentry, hide, reload, wait for the sentry to finish firing, and repeat the process until the sentry is defeated. The drones you will be fighting for most part of the game do at least try to hide behind cover whenever they are low health and will use their shield very well, but their general power level feels a bit low, as you are single-handedly defeating groups of them without any sort of trouble, especially if you do take your time and do a bit of reconnaissance that allows you to tag them so you always know where they are and you start the engagement with a sniper rifle from a long distance. The thing I liked the most about the combat were the weapons for 2 main reasons. First, most of them did feel very powerful while shooting. I am sort of unsure why this is. The only reason I can think of is the fact that the guns don't shoot bullets for the most part, and even railguns, which still fire a chunk of metal but sped up by magnets, have a feel of shooting a laser. This also reduces the awkward feeling of not having that much recoil to almost not feeling any awkwardness at all, because you don't expect laser weapons to have a huge recoil. And now to the last part, the small RPG-like elements, and those come in two main factors. First, the fact that you get rewards for finishing quests, both in terms of gear and leveling up, but leveling is called ranking up here. So, let's start with the gear, which is divided into weapons, shields, AoE, and your hazard suit. The weapons feature a very nice amount of options, but only a few real types of weapons, more precisely assault rifles, with which almost everyone is familiar, energy lances, which fire a continuous beam of energy, but also make your view go bonkers if you fire them for a long time. Seriously, these weapons should come with an epilepsy trigger warning. Hacking weapons, which give you access to friendly drones even outside of the areas under your control, and two types of long-range railguns, one without sniper optics and one with sniper optics. The most effective combo is probably your regular assault rifle with some kind of sniper rifle, but the most fun combo is 100% using a sniper rifle and one of the hacking tools, because then you feel like an officer ordering his troops into the battle while you're taking out the most valuable targets from a safe distance. The shield and hazard suits are pretty boring. They provide a very linear advance in power as you get better ones. But on the other hand, the AoE tools are very fun, giving you tools that range from the most obvious, just area damage, through area heals up to crowd control options like an AoE that forces your enemies to retreat for a while. Yes, like an AoE fear from a fantasy game. So, that's all for the mechanics, but how does the game actually feel while playing? And to be honest, I do feel quite mixed feelings. On one hand, the combat, while a bit slow, does feel pretty satisfying, especially if you take the more fun approach of commanding a bunch of drones and not scouting for your enemies. And on the other hand, the long walks between each combat engagement does really heavily take away from the fun factor. Perhaps if the world was about 20 to 30% smaller, or there at least were enemies in form of local fauna sprinkled in between each of the places you need to go, this wouldn't be the issue. But as it stands, the game does feel really slow. Now, on to the story of the game. No worries, no spoilers. You start the game as an explorer who is aiming to find the source of a mysterious signal coming from the planet Toelva. To do this, you must venture onto this world, hijacking different drones and scan potential sources of the signal, until you find the source itself. Well, that's the basic premise. And on top of this, you have an ongoing war between different factions of robots. I have the same exact problem with the storytelling as I have with the gameplay. It feels so slow. After you get to see a very promising initial cutscene, all the storytelling is happening through notes that are being added into your library, forcing you to stop and read them, further delaying you from getting into the fun parts of the game, the combat. And even then, the notes are really cryptic, only giving you small insights into the game's lore. And while I do understand this probably is intentional, when you combine it with a relatively slow flow of the rest of the game, it is far from being really engaging, certainly not tying you to the computer because you want to know more. Graphically, the game takes on a, well, let's call it low budget graphics. I feel the game could look much better if the style was aimed a bit more towards cel shader graphics, because right now, even on full details, especially the textures feel really bad, like a few years behind the current technology. On the other hand, the lightning and particle effects are pretty good, and the shadows do actually create a fair bit of atmosphere. So, altogether, again, a mixed bag. If the textures had higher resolutions, the game would look really good, but as it stands, it just lacks the wow factor. When it comes to the music and sound assets of Toelva, I gotta say, this was probably the part of the game that was executed the best. The music isn't really pronounced, only hovering slightly above the hearable range, so half of the time you aren't even sure whether you're hearing music or not. The rest of the game assets, guns, enemies and such stuff is executed superbly. The only sound I would change is whenever you hit an enemy, but that is very much subjective. Performance-wise, the game ran pretty well. I did encounter a bit of stuttering, but honestly, I have no idea why. I can only suspect it was something within my system, not inside the game, because it happened only once and right after I finished producing a different video. So most likely, that had something to do with it. So, in conclusion, what a mixed bag this game is. I feel like it has great potential to be a very fun single-player open-world shooter along the games like Borderlands, but the pacing of the game does pose a quite large obstacle towards this game being much more fun. Probably not a buy at full price, but once this gets into the prices below €10, this is a good pickup if you like single-player story-driven games and you don't mind the slower pacing. Well, that's it for today, guys. Hope you liked the review, and if you did, please consider liking it, subscribing to my channel, and comment if you had something you would like to add. See you guys later with more gaming content.